Everybody, well, I just got off a podcast with an amazing guy named Tim James. He's a health hero. That's his podcast. That's his mission in life. We anchored into some really important concepts around, changing the toxicity within the internal environment, because the world around us is just, we're being bombarded on a regular basis by toxicity, and most of it's going unseen. And we're bioaccumulating, it's shifting our microbiome, it's affecting our hormones, it's affecting our choices in life. And in this podcast, we discussed a lot of those concepts and some really good basic stuff that everyone needs to know just regarding household products, and just basically some things that you can do to start to make a big impact in your health and your life. His story is phenomenal, though. He takes you on a bit of a wild ride of maybe a common theme that many of us can sort of see ourselves through his message and his story, and sort of the journey it took for him to start to awaken to his optimal health. And that's what he's doing. He's created some amazing products to help people with detoxification, to optimize the nutrition in the body. We dove into that, into hydration, proper hydration, structuring of water, all into household products and things like that you can do on a daily basis, to colonics and enemas and things you need to do to clean out your gut and digestive system. So lots of amazing information. Sit back, enjoy the episode. He's full of energy and full of life and spirit, and you can be too. And so tune in and find out how. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Health Ignited. I'm here minus my partner for today. She's about to launch her book tomorrow. It's going live, and that is called Women Unleashed. And so women aside, it's just me and my new buddy here, Tim James. And I'm going to introduce you to him just a moment. And one of the things that Dr. Sonia and I love to chat about is really health freedom, and helping people to ignite that stir, that call within that allows them to recharge their batteries, to dive deep into their health, and to start to ask those questions and educate themselves. And so this is part of the reason why we want to bring Tim James on. He's someone who's got an incredible story, a professional athlete that's gone through the ringer when it comes to health crises and awakening to that inner voice and that inner potential that now he's educating, millions of people all over the globe. He's got some amazing products that we're going to dive into. And so, Tim James, thank you so much for being here on the show with us.
Nick, thanks, buddy, for having me on. You have to tell Sonia I said hello, and I wish her the best on this book launch. I'll probably have to have her on my show to help out with that.
Oh yeah, she would love that. And she
definitely do that.
She was definitely missed on this call. And, I love the name. So you got a podcast. You got a podcast called Health Hero, and you're a health hero. And so let's dive into just some of your stories so people can understand just where you're coming from and what it means to be a health hero.
Well, thanks for that. First off, I want to say that what I've learned is like my goal is to inspire people to realize that everybody has to become their own health hero. You have to become your own doctor today. Not that you won't go get help. Like for me, like when I'm coaching people, I become like a third baseman. I'm like the general contractor of health. I'm not a doctor. I just kind of know how to put the parts together, right? And, getting the right type of naturopathic doctor, or especially when you're choosing a psychologist, because 95% of them are nuts. No offense, but they are. And then, you have to find the good ones. You want the really good ones, the ones that resonate with you. And you want people that are healthy. Right? You don't want to be getting health advice from somebody that's not healthy themselves. If they're not healthy themselves, why would you listen to that person? You don't go to a blind ophthalmologist to get your eyes checked. So why do we go to overweight dietitians and nutritionists or doctors to talk about our health? Most of them don't understand. We have a broken system today. That's why, like in America, we spend $3.3 trillion on healthcare every year, yet we're the sickest people that have ever walked the face of the planet. And today, after I tell my story of like where I came from, I'll get into how bad it was. Like what I discovered about 8-9 years ago, like literally put me back in my seat. And I was like, oh my God. So I'll get to that in a minute. But so I grew up over in Eastern Oregon, which is pretty much redneckville. It's like growing up in like Montana. My best friend was like a rodeo star. I was like, should I play baseball? Should I do rodeo? I ended up doing baseball, which is kind of cool because our team took 5th in the world. The Babe Ruth World Series in Lebanon, Missouri. That's when I got exposed to chiggers and fireflies, a couple little bugs that some people listening might know about. Fireflies are really cool because they light up at night. And as a kid, you're like, it's amazing. Like, how does an animal have lights? Like, right. But guess what? We all have that light inside of us, like literally. And chiggers are a little different story there. They're like super tiny mosquitoes that bite you. They're like these little bugs. So those aren't the funnest, but anyway, that was my experience in Missouri. That was back when Nintendo was like big time, and it was like Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we were up till midnight playing that game. Screw baseball in the World Series. We want to play Nintendo. But anyway, so I grew up on the standard American diet, grew up on a farm. We raised Hereford cattle. We had grass and alfalfa hay. And I spent a lot of time in the woods, man. I actually cut firewood. That's how I put myself through college, was splitting and delivering firewood before and after baseball practice, like early in the morning, in the dark. Or I would, and we had a big garden and lots of animals. And I was up in the woods we were picking morel mushrooms and boletus and, all kinds of stuff like that, edible mushrooms. And I was just out in nature a lot. So I loved it. I love being outside. I love being outdoors. And fast forward, I'm 37 years old now. I'm a financial advisor. I got a couple kids, a couple boys. I'm coaching their sports, and I'd gained about 42 pounds. I developed a skin issue on my back shoulder. It was this weird fat stuff bubbling up. I had to get injections and then ate it all away, but then it left like a purple dent and it looked kind of weird. And then boop, 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 3 more popped up around it. I'm like, whoa, what if this stuff happens on my face? Like, so I'm freaked out. And then I got eczema on my knee and it got really bad. And then it got worse and spread to my elbows, and those were cracking and bleeding. So my left knee and both of my elbows were like cracking and bleeding. So I was like bleeding on my suits and my shirts and stuff. So as an advisor, financial advisor, I couldn't wear those white shirts anymore because I'd just stain them and ruin them. And it wasn't worth the money to buy them. And then it was embarrassing because I'd go over to your house for a party or whatever, and somebody be like, who's bleeding? And I'm like, oh, it's me. Because I'd bump up against a wall or something. I wouldn't know it. Or I'm cleaning people's couches, and just freaking annoying. You go to the beach and I wasn't embarrassed to take my shirt off because I was overweight, but because everybody else was too. But it was my skin, man. I just looked like a salamander. So my universe was shrinking, and that A-type outgoing personality, I was just kind of, shrinking. I wasn't as outgoing anymore because I was embarrassed about my health, and I wasn't feeling good anyway. I had like no energy, mental fog. I'd stopped working out completely, and I was totally workout fanatic. And the only workout I did was walking the dogs because they couldn't walk themselves, and I felt guilty. And it was a struggle just to get up and move. So that progressed. Then I got acid reflux really bad, started eating Tums and Rolaids 24/7. And then finally on a trip to Peru with my wife, her dad was a doctor down in Lima. He ran a big clinic down there. And it was his first time that he had been on a vacation in his whole life. Like, he'd never taken a vacation before. It's like his whole life. We planned this trip out. It was thousands of dollars a year in advance. And we flew up to Tumbes, which is south of Ecuador, northern Peru. Beautiful beach, unbelievable. And after a few days, we chartered a boat to go out deep sea fishing, kind of like that, and tuna and all that stuff. And I wasn't feeling good. I was sweating, and they thought I had motion sickness, right? And I'm like, no, I've been on these boats before, but I've never gotten motion sickness. But I guess it could be maybe because I'm south of the equator. I don't know. And then I got home, and then it got worse. And then finally he's like, went into doctor mode. He's like, oh, we have to get you to a hospital. And I just missed the 1 plane flight a day out of there by 30 minutes. So I'm bent over at a 90-degree angle, like some 150-year-old dude from a, indigenous society walking around with a cane. And it was so much pain. And they put me on a van and then drove me 6 hours down this bumpy ass road on the coastline to Piora. And dude, every single bump was like, ow. I mean, it was like it was 6 to 10 on the pain scale. It was like just unbearable. Ba-bump, ba-bump, ba-bumpity, bump, 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 bump for 6 hours. I'm sweating bullets. We get there. I'm exhausted. I've been in tremendous pain for 6 hours because of the bumpy road. And then they dope me up. And here I am in a third world country, and there's like bugs flying around me in the examination table. I'm like, oh my God, I'm screwed. What my health insurance, I can't even use it, darn it. So they dope me up. He puts me on a commercial plane flight and they fly me to Lima. Now you're not supposed to do this. Like, I should have went right into surgery right there, but he wanted his surgeons to take care of me. And I flew in, I landed and I took a taxi to the hospital and then right onto the gurney and right into surgery. So this was my vacation. Wow. And then I went into surgery and then I was in recovery. And then my wife wheelchaired me back into the United States because I still wasn't well completely by the time our tickets were ready. And I learned 2 very valuable lessons from that experience. Number one, I don't ever want to get surgery again. I realized that my life was out of control when that mask went over my face and you're out. And the next thing you wake up and you're in another room somewhere. And, I was thinking, what if the surgeon had a bad day? What if he was fighting with his wife, or what if, because there was 2 surgeons, I had a man and a woman, or what if she, her dog got run over or something, right? Or she was up late at night fighting with her husband. You just never know, right? So, and then second thing was my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me. Because I had ruined that vacation for my wife and her dad. I felt terrible. Like the dude, he couldn't get out of the hospital for 30 years. Where does he end up? Back in the hospital taking care of me. I felt terrible about that whole thing. So, but I didn't know what to do with my health, man. I was reading books, 5 meals a day, high fat, low fat, high protein, high carb, low carb. I tried everything 10 ways to Sunday and it just wasn't working. The doctors wanted me to go on Prilosec and do all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I wouldn't even get the medications, but sometimes I would, and I'd look at them and I'm just like, I never took them because I don't know about this. Something wasn't right to me. And then it wasn't until my friend got cancer. My friend Charles, he got chronic lymphocytic leukemia. I went with him to support him to the Hippocrates Health Institute in the last ditch effort to save his life, because the doctors told him there's not much we can do. We'll put you on some experimental drug but we're trying to find the cure. And Charles is like, screw that, dude. They're never going to find a cure in time. So he's like, he took matters into his own hands. He's like, hey, let's go to this detox nutrition clinic. I want to try to live. And I thought he was a goner. But I said, yeah, I'll go with you. See, my aunt died of melanoma skin cancer. My grandma died of brain cancer. She had a glioblastoma deal. And then my buddy Calais on my baseball team, actually, men's league I was in, he died of stomach cancer at age 40. Wow. Right. So now my buddy Charles is 43 and I'm like, wow, older people, you think they get older, they die of something, you don't pay much attention, but now these people are dropping like flies. My friends, my age, now I'm getting a little freaked out. And Charles was a vegetarian. So if he's dying, I'm screwed. So we go there and, day one, my acid reflux was gone. Within 3 days, I kind of went through what that called a Hertz reaction. I was doing a detox, or they call it surgery without a knife. Because I went off of like the standard American diet to eating like a chipmunk. I was eating sprouts and sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains and beans and green juices and wheatgrass shots and purified restructured water with lemon and lime in it. And, just some basic things. And things, my body started responding very quickly. The first class that I went to that was very shocking was called Internal Awareness. And this very fit doctor came out and he explained how the average person has 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in the colon that we're walking around with. And he pointed at me in the class. He said, Tim, if you ever want to be healthy, truly healthy, you have to get this stuff out. And he was very convincing. He explained how everything worked, the time you chew food and what happens until it times exit the body. I'm like, this is fantastic. But he wanted to tell us, he was trying to convince us to do colon hydrotherapy or colonics. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
I have, yeah. I've got a funny story about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll have to hear that. But So what happened was, for those listening that aren't familiar with colonics or colon hydrotherapy, it's really not that big of a deal. But you sit on a tube rectally and water gently goes in and out of your colon. It cleans out that stuff. And but I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I elbowed Charles and said, okay, buddy, I came here to help you, but I ain't doing that deal. But when that guy, he was smart because he showed 4 images, virtual colonoscopies, 3 unhealthy people and 1 person that had been on this Hippocrates lifestyle, this living food deal for a while. The first one was like a 24-year-old woman that had Hashimoto's and thrush, which is a yeast infection. And inside of her colon was all yellow and white and nasty. And I was like, God, that's terrible. Then they went to a 65-year-old male with colon cancer and parasites. And it was black and brown and nasty and white worms crawling around, like moving, like they're alive. Wow. And then he turns around to the group. He's like, hey, look, now over 50% of you easy have parasites. And we're not just talking the hookworms, the pinworms, and these tapeworms that you can see we're talking some microscopic ones that are very small. And all of these are eating and drinking your food and your water and your liquids, and they're urinating and defecating, and you creating more acid. And then they're having sex and laying thousands of eggs, if not hundreds of thousands, millions. And we're just all like, and then I'm like, what? So now I'm kind of freaking out. Right. And then he went to a 45-year-old female, and she had breast cancer and like colitis or Crohn's, or her gut was all jacked up. And it was just, nasty in there. Right. Now, then they flipped over to the person that had been on their healing diet lifestyle thing. And you could see the intestinal lining was like, and the colon was like pink, and the blood vessels. Yeah, there was waste matter in there, dude. But the terrain was completely different. You could totally see. And that's when it clicked for me, because a picture is worth 60,000 words. And I went from, I am never going to go get a colon hydrotherapy session, to I jumped up and I went over and signed up for it immediately. He was actually trying to, Tim, we'll do that later. And I'm like, no, I'm signing up right now. I mean, I couldn't wait to do it. The next day I go in, they weigh me. I do the colon hydrotherapy, and they weigh me again afterwards. I dropped 10 pounds, Nick, of impacted funk and gunk and junk that had been in my colon. And the record at that time in 2011, one lady had dropped 27 pounds of all that putrefying waste in her colon. Wow. In one session, one colonic. That is the size of a medium dog falling out of her butt. It's ridiculous how much of this stuff that people are carrying around inside of them, right? It's disgusting. But I want to paint a picture, because that's what's going on. Like John Wayne had this problem. Elvis had this problem. They had impacted colons, and, they had, Elvis had drug problems. I don't know what John Wayne, he probably had a beef problem. He's eating too much beef. But anyway, so, after that happened, the detox thing was happening, but I didn't have it as bad as some people. I had like night sweats. I was irritable. I had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue as heavy metals were exiting my body. But some people had rashes breaking out all over their body, and parasites were crawling out their pores. One lady at lunch had a parasite crawling out of her eye. Wow. And now the people listening might think, well, that's kind of woo. I don't believe that. Well, let me tell you what, I was there. I have first person experience, but let me explain why it was happening. We were changing the internal terrain. When you live on the standard American diet, or the standard Canadian diet, or the standard Aussie diet, or whatever, Western diet, cooked and processed foods over and over and over again, day in and day out, you build up a very high acid body. It's low alkaline, and it's low oxygen. This is the perfect breeding ground for viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, parasites, and mutagens, these cancers. So what do they do at Hippocrates? They put us on the highest alkaline, highest oxygen lifestyle, and they literally cleaned us out like Roto-Rooter. Basically learned how to treat my body like a car or a tractor. If it's not running well, you take it into the shop. You don't just, you get it fixed. You don't just put better fuel in it if it's not running well, right? If the check engine light's going off, you don't keep driving that car, that tractor, because if you do, it's going to break and leave you stranded, or the repair bill is going to be huge because you didn't get it taken care of ahead of time. So when you have check body lights, that means you're overweight like I was. You have eczema or skin issues like me. You're fatigued. You have mental clarity issues. You're on medications. You have Hashimoto's, cancer, whatever. You have MS. It doesn't matter. These are all check body lights, and your body is screaming at you. You need to change your environment. You have to change your environment. You have to lower your stress. There's certain things that you have to do. And a lot of times we just don't do it. We don't change. Then we go to the doctor. They don't want to teach us to change anything. They hand us a pill, and a pill is going to solve our problem. A synthetic pill. Where in billions of years of evolution do you go in nature and some animal gets handed a pill to solve their problems? It's not how it works. We have billions of years of evolution on our side. And Western medicine has been around a couple hundred years. Who do you think's got it figured out better, nature or some dudes in a lab? Right? That's where we're at today. So what happened was, I looked at Charles one day after about 5 days at this, and I come out of the fog, and man, my brain was clear as a bell. My arms are like just tingling with energy. I said, dude, do you feel as good as I do? He's like, yeah. I said, I can't believe it. I said, we have discovered the fountain of youth. I mean, like literally, I'm not joking. Like literally, this is the fountain of youth. I've only been on this program for like a week, dude. And I felt like I was freaking 18 again. I said, Charles, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm the hunting and fishing guy. I named my sons Cody Hunter James and Kyle Fisher James, Hunter and Fisher, because I was so into hunting and fishing. Okay. My friend gave me a barbecue branding iron. I put TJ, or my initials, Tim James, in the steaks when you come over to my house. Okay. And I told Charles, I was like, look, dude, I'm giving up all bacon, all meat except for bacon. And I'm going to do this. We're going to juice. We're going to sprout. I'm going to do these living foods. And that's exactly what we did, bro. We come home. I started juicing. We started growing wheatgrass, all these things. And my buddy in 2.5 years healed himself of his chronic lymphocytic leukemia with no cancer, or excuse me, no chemo, no radiation, no surgery, none of that stuff, right in front of my face. 60 days, I lost all the weight. Skin issues all gone, except for the knee. It took 8 months because that patch of eczema, it took time to heal. And I've been maintaining this stuff. I'm 48 now. It's been 11 years, dude. And I've been able to, I completely geek out on this stuff. That's all I care about now is like, how can I look younger, feel younger, and then show other people how to do it, heal faster. I've had over 5,500 people to my house. People think I'm on cocaine. I'm not. I'm like high on water. I'm high on sprouts and biophoton. I have so much energy and information I want to share with people. That's why I was like, I got to start telling people about it. So anyway, but that's the beautiful story is that it's been 11 years. My buddy's still alive. We hang out. He got to see his son graduate high school, and he went to father-son weekend, and you know, and now I left financial advising, and now for a living, I coach and share our products with people.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, you've got such a gift of sharing, your story and relating to people that are going through something so similar and feeling stuck, right? Like, I mean, that's the reality, and it's a physical stuckness that you release in your body, but it's also emotional and an awareness one. I'm curious, what was the actual surgery then when you were down in South
I had
America?
my appendix removed, and most of the doctors and people is, oh, well, the appendix, that's no big deal. It's not even supposed to be there. It's a worthless organ. That is a bunch of hogwash. It is probably why is it there in the first place? Right? Like creation does not make mistakes. Okay. It doesn't make mistakes. Actually, it's really interesting. Dr. Clement, you have to call him up, maybe get him on and just I'll do the synopsis, the quick, like the cheat sheet of it. But he was looking at pictures of the appendix like 800 years ago, drawings and stuff like that when people would pull it out. And he watched through time. It used to be like a big boot. It looked like a big pocket. And he figured what it was for. It was to culture the B12 that we would pick up. So we're actually manufacturing down there our own more bacteria, right? Mm-hmm. So when we had times when we didn't have it, our body would take it from there and use it for our digestive process or for immunity or whatever. And over time, through maybe modernization, it shrunk up into this little thing called the appendix. But it still could be a regulator or controller of our gut microbiome, and it might be a very critical deal. So I've had that removed. And I didn't breastfeed because I was adopted. So I have like 2 major strikes against me now. My body has been pierced. Thank God they were able to do that and save me. But see, if I would have known about this and I would have changed my lifestyle before that, I would have never had to have an appendix. I wouldn't have had that. It was from my lifestyle. See, the body is a system. And it can be a dumb system if you just kind of go along with the flow, like I was for 37 years, or you can switch over and you can become an intelligent system. An intelligent system has a sensor, it has a controller, it has a goal, and it's able to change its inputs, right? So I started changing my inputs and noticing with my sensor how I felt, and the things that made me feel better, I stuck with those, and the things that didn't, I threw them away. And then things that I used to be addicted to, as I was making these positive changes in my life, eventually they just gave me up. I didn't like certain things that I thought I could never stop eating that. I just didn't want them anymore. Like coffee, like I was a coffee fanatic. I had my own French press. We got the beans. I was totally into it. I was like a wine snob with coffee. And after I got cleaned up, I started drinking. I'm just like, it just didn't taste good to me anymore. I didn't want it. I didn't need the energy. It was more of a ritual and a habit that me and my wife did. It was, let's be honest, it was a freaking dessert by the time I got done whipping that sucker up. People go to, Starbucks and stuff like that, and they get their whip of Frappuccinos. I mean, let's be honest, you're consuming a dessert. It's a bunch of sugar. It's garbage. And the coffee is really not that good anyway. So anyway, when you change the internal terrain, man, it's an inside job. That's what I've learned. Taking care of the gut is like, that's the key.
Yeah. I mean, the message is so repetitive, but so important. I mean, we say this all the time. It's the environment of your body that's going to dictate the kind of bugs that grow there, the kind of hormones that are expressed, your tendencies, your cravings, your addictions, all those things are an afterthought of your biological terrain. So let's talk a little bit about the detoxification process. Colonics and enemas, and you start cleaning out the intestinal tract is such an important part of someone's journey into detoxification. But there's also a setup too. So how about maybe you sort of let people know what would be an ideal setup? Like when you're in the Hippocrates Institute, obviously they change the way you're eating. You get off a lot of the animal fats or the pro-inflammatory foods and things like that. What do you see as a necessary setup in order for things like that, the enemas, the colonics, to have more impact?
That's nobody's ever asked me that question, but man, I guess what I would say is that, number one is that people have to really get clear on why they're doing this first, because it's really about attitude. If you go about it like, well, I'll kind of try this and I'll try that, it's probably not going to work that well for you, right? But if you're like, okay, I'm going to freaking heal myself. And I don't care what people have. I've seen it's people that have like stage 4 stuff. If they say by January, 30th, 2023, I will be cancer free, and they believe it in every cell in their body and their bones, then most likely, and I will do whatever it takes to heal, they're probably going to heal. So I would say attitude is number one. But beyond that, I don't know if anybody really needs to do any preparation for colonics and that kind of stuff, except for, before you go, they recommend you don't eat for a few hours, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But because the colonic is kind of like, the one thing I would recommend people don't do is that if you're not stage 4 something and you just want to start making gradual changes, you should take baby steps. Don't try to go all in, especially at home. Because if you try to do it at home, you could create that Hertz reaction, the detox, and you could have cold and flu-like symptoms that could put you into bed. Like literally, people have no idea how polluted they are. And as the body is like getting what it needs, it'll start releasing stuff: urination, defecation, perspiration, respiration, menstruation. All these pathways of elimination are going to get accelerated, and a lot of it's going to come out through the bowels. But, as that's happening, you're doing surgery without a knife. So we've set it up to do very gentle things. So I say the first thing that people need to do, number one, after you get their head right and their attitude, is they really need to start getting serious about cleaning up their air and their water. These are two major inputs to your system. And if you're going to be an intelligent system, then you want to make sure that the inputs are really good. So the first things first is like your air. You need to make sure that you crack your windows, especially at night when you're sleeping. These energy efficient homes are like chemical coffins, and your paint on the wall is off gassing for over 4.5 years after it's painted. Carpet is off gassing formaldehyde. They spray crap on the fire retardants on our TV screens. It's like there are toxins freaking everywhere. Okay, houses are like 100 times more polluted than downtown polluted Los Angeles or something, right? So we got to get air purification systems in our house. We got to at least crack our windows at the beginning and keep them open, because there's just too much toxins, right? Think about it. We do 20,000 breaths a day. Why? What happens when people come in? Like the place that I'm living right now, this is my last. I've been on this like 3-year deal where I'm going house to house to house, helping people heal themselves. It's been kind of like we're documenting all this. The gal I'm staying with now has breast cancer, and there's her mom's got dementia, and so is her dad, and she's taking care of them while she's trying to heal cancer. She's phenomenal what she's doing. Her boyfriend's got like colitis, so I got a house full of help. I got to help, but there's I forgot what I was going to say, but anyway, so the air. So I'm in a room that has carpet. So I have an air purification system, and when people come into my room, they instantly go, I feel better. I feel energized because of the air. Like my air is like, it's like going outside into a forest, because I have that, and I've got a diffuser going with essential oils, and my window's cracked too. So I have the window slightly cracked, diffuser going with essential oils, and I have an air purification going 365 in this room. When you come into this room, you are getting a better quality fuel when you breathe this air than you are anywhere else in the house, right? So air is big. Number 2 is water. What's your body mostly made of? If that alone, once people realize that their body's mostly made of water, and this is something I just did a podcast on yesterday that just got posted today. You don't live in nature. You don't live with nature. You are nature. Okay. You're freaking nature. Your body's mostly made of what? Water. And then it's made of minerals, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, these types of things. So when you get, if somebody, when you die, if they cremate you, you're left with minerals. Where do those come from? The soil. Where does the water come from? The earth. We are the earth. We are nature. So understanding that is really, I think, important for people to have an aha moment, realize that, wow, I am nature. And another thing is like the gut microbiome that you guys probably spend a lot of time with. Those bacteria in the gut are very similar, exactly the same. A lot of them is the soil bacteria, the soil microbiome. So we are so connected to nature, it's ridiculous. But we've been disconnected through this modern life. And that's where all the problems are happening. So we have got to get our water right, because all the water today is polluted. Now, people are like, well, I got well water and this and that, blah, blah, blah. There was a gentleman that I heard about when I was at Hippocrates. He moved away from the city to get away from all this stuff. He moved to the Colorado Rocky Mountains, up on the side of a mountain, had a spring, and he was up there and his health started declining. And he went to doctor, to doctor, to doctor, to doctor, to doctor, to doctor, and nobody could figure it out. And finally, one doctor's like, maybe it's your water. He's like, nah, I live in the Colorado Rockies. I got the spring water. It's the best. Well, guess what? They had the water tested, and 200 miles away, there was fracking, where they're fracking for natural gas. They put the explosives down in the earth, and it was disturbing heavy metals and toxins. And they were going through these underwater aquifers that are like rivers, and it was coming up 200 miles away and bubbling up. That's how they figured it out. And it was the water that was killing him. Wow. And he was on the freaking spring on the side of the mountains. 1,500 miles to the interior of pristine lakes, Nick. There's these researchers went all over the world, and they were the 2 and 2.5 inch fish, where there's no man around, have both male and female organs. And why? Because of the amounts of estrogen mimickers from plastics that had found their way into that lake, 1,500 miles away from any man at all. So we have got major issues on a microscopic level. These are the no-see-ums that I'm trying to bring awareness of. And don't take my word for it. All you have to do is type in these 3 words: umbilical cord chemical. Yeah. Umbilical cord chemical. When you're done listening to this talk today, go type those 3 things in. Look, you'll see the same studies that I saw going back to 2005 that show that every single child being born and young mother, when they test the blood in that umbilical cord, they look for 400 chemicals. They found 71% or 250 of what they're looking for, and 180 cause cancer in humans. 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. And this is in the youngest and supposedly the most healthiest of all of us. And that's when I sat back in my chair. Remember earlier, I was like, oh my God. This when I sat back in my chair and I was like, we're all polluted. And the older you are, the more you've had time to bioaccumulate these microscopic no-see-um toxins through the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, and things that you wear, clothing, and things that you put on your skin, makeups and shampoos and deodorants, this kind of stuff, and toothpaste. Anything that comes into contact with your body is your environment. And most 95+% of the stuff when you go to the store is polluted with toxic, cancer-causing, brain development, disrupting chemicals. They're in there. So we have to have first awareness of this, and then we have to learn how to start getting them out. So those are the 2 biggest things that I would say, is getting your air and your water right. And then of course the next thing is the food, and then so on and so forth. So if your toothpaste says harmful if swallowed, please contact the Poison Control Center. You may want to rethink putting that in your mouth again. Get something different, okay? Or if your shampoo says sodium lauryl sulfate, that's a known carcinogen. That's a suffocant, so you get nice foamy shampoo. You are putting cancer-causing agents into your body through the skin, no liver to filter it, and then it's bioaccumulating in your fat tissue. And it's just a matter of time. These toxins build up, and then they destroy your immune system on a micro level. And that's why we're having so much success with people, because we have products and we share with them lifestyle choices and hacks to get this crap out, stop putting it in, and empower them to realize, like, yeah, your vote might not count in elections anymore, but guess what? It still counts right now when you buy stuff. Get educated, stop buying this crap from these companies that don't care about you or the planet, and find companies like ours that have a heartbeat, that have some moral compass, and then buy from us, and then let us grow. But if some big company buys me, like, I'm not going to name because I want to get sued, then don't buy my stuff anymore, because, it's not that these other people have sold out, but there's big companies, big organic companies, they sell out to bigger companies. And then guess what? They slip their toxins in. So buy local, grow your own stuff, get into sprouting, and use your money to vote with your dollars, and give it to good companies that are going to support you in your community and our world.
That's, I mean, you set it up so beautifully. I mean, the reality is that it's these simple things that we don't pay attention to. I mean, I had a similar story with a patient that, is drinking well water and everything's good because it's, well water. And sure enough, we tested her well water because she was getting chronic kidney stones. And sure enough, there was high arsenic and all sorts of other things in there. These are the things that people aren't paying attention to. I did a water study of our local water supply, and they look at just a fraction of what, you could look at, or one could look at. And we kind of broke down the chlorine content and the bacterial content, the different, chlorine byproducts. And, on the rating, it says you don't want to have over 2 parts per million of chlorine, but categorically every bit of your water is well above that. And they just say greater than 2 parts per million, meaning it's saturated with these chemicals to try to kill off the bacteria or whatever. But as a byproduct of that chlorine, in your pipes, it's leaching all sorts of different things. And so, I mean, you can't control your environment necessarily of what you're directly impacted by, but you can control your home. You can filter your water. You can change the food. Like you said, you can make these decisions with how you make purchases. And I love that you're sharing this, because these are foundational things that people need to know about. There's so many different chemical exposures. Obviously, there's this generational toxicity that we're seeing come down into the umbilical cord and babies and whatnot. What do you think are some of the, bigger, more modern, I guess, maybe not modern, but what do you think are some of the bigger, more common names, maybe that people can sort of sink their teeth into or understand more? Maybe glyphosate maybe comes to mind, but what are some
toxins?
of those? Yeah. What are some of those?
Yeah. I mean, it's
toxins?
like, you can just pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, larvicides. They're spraying these things like crazy on these big mega farms. Glyphosate, an herbicide. What about automobile exhaust, jet fuel, right? How about rubber compounds coming off of tires? I just got a new set of tires put on my truck today. What happened to the other ones? Where'd all the rubber go? Well, guess what? When it's spinning at high speeds and it makes friction on asphalt or concrete, microscopic, super teeny tiny particles fly off the tire. And where do they go? They go up into the air, and they're floating around, and they go in our nose, up in our mouth, and they attach to our mucous membrane, and you can't see it. And it goes and ends up in your digestive tract. And then your digestive tract is like, oh my God, we don't want this to go in the bloodstream. So then your small intestine starts building this mucilaginous, we call it like a mucoid plaque. It's like a black, brown, viscous thing as a protective measure. And it starts housing all this crap and chemicals, but eventually some of it starts leaching through. And then with the leaky gut that we have today from things like glyphosate, it's opening up these microscopic tears in the intestine. Then more of that stuff's getting in there. It gets into the bloodstream, and it's disrupting everything and causing all these health issues. So that's why when people go get colonics, yeah, they'll be cleaning out their colon. We always recommend you do 2 of them back to back, because the first day you'll sweep it out, and then your liver and your gallbladder and your small intestine will be like, oh my God, he or she's genius. Let's get rid of this other stuff now. And I'll start dumping it. And sometimes people will see this black phone cord like stuff, this coily, it looks like a black phone cord. That's that black mucoid plaque coming out of the small intestine. Your body's releasing it because now you've started to clean out the pathway of elimination. I think that's always the first step. Get your air in your water and get the pathway of elimination cleaned out before you do any kidney cleansing, before you do any liver, gallbladder flushes, do anything else. Get the pathway of elimination cleaned out first, and then go on to the next.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, here's some other attention maybe people can pay attention to in their homes. Like, what about the cooking appliances or water filters for their showers or things like that? Do you
Oh yeah, absolutely. With the water systems, we're actually building onto our website right now. We're adding in, because a lot of people want to always ask me, how am I getting high on water? Well, I've been big on purified water for years. That's great. But if you're on city tap water, that water is going through high pressure pipes, and the water molecules get coagulated. It means instead of 4 or 5 in a cluster, they get like 20 to 25 in a cluster. They're too big. It's like a bowling ball trying to go through a chain link fence. It just bounces off. The chain link fence being your intestinal lining, the bowling ball, the water molecule. So when you get your water restructured, then it becomes really small like sand. You throw sand through a chain link fence, it just flies through there. So what happened for me was in 2018, I was turned on to this gal named Danusha, and I already knew about this system, but I said, look, it's a crude filtration device. Triple purification is where it's at. I don't need it. But I was missing. I didn't understand at that point in time about the city tap water. I didn't get it. Then I got it. But I was still kind of fighting it for some reason. I try to be an open-minded person, but I was like, I'm good. Because I'd spent already $2,000 on my triple purifier, and I probably didn't want to spend more in the back of my subconscious or something. And then finally, she never gave up on me, and she put me on the phone with this other water expert, and I was kind of fighting a little bit. And finally, he's like, Tim, yeah. He's like, just go drink the effing water. And I'm like, okay. So I go over to Danusha. She's like, okay, here you go. Here's a quart. And she goes, after this, I'm going to have you put some salt under your tongue and it increases absorption. I'm like, okay. So I drank a quart of water. She goes, now in 15 minutes, she hit the timer. She goes, I'm going to give you another quart. I was like, geez, I've been preaching and teaching, drink a lot of water, but I don't know if I can drink that much. And guess what? 15 minutes went by. I'm like, okay, I'll try. And it was like the other one was gone. I was like, okay, that's cool. More salt under my tongue. Not much, just a little pinch. And then I'm like, and she's like, now I've never done this before, but she goes, because I grow like 60, 70% of my food. I eat like sprouts now. And she's like, but you're the cleanest person I know. I'm going to give you 3 of them. And I'm like, okay. And at the 24-minute mark, boom, my head turned on. My arms were tingling again. It was the same exact type of an experience that I had at Hippocrates, except it was like triple. Now, mind you, I'm already feeling amazing. Like I had switched my whole lifestyle, my diet. I eventually added in like concentrated food supplements that took my health up 2 more levels. And when I drank this water, it jacked me up like 3 more. And I was like, holy crap. And then she gave me, I said, yeah, give me that one. I drank it. And then I left. And for about 30 minutes, I had 2 hours later, I was like, oh God, I kind of had like, I was detoxing a little bit. Right. And then it went away and then I was fine. And I was high on water, dude, for like 6 hours. So that's when I learned that restructuring is so important, because I would drink for years. I was preaching and teaching this and pee a lot. With this water, I'd drink it and just disappear. And then an hour or 2 hours later, whoosh, then a lot of water would come out. So that told me it got into my system, my body used it, and then it came out at a different time and frequency. So I switched, and I've been high on water ever since, dude, because it's like I can go down and it's because of the machine. So I run my water through the triple purifier, and then I run it through that machine that Danusha sold me that restructures it.
What's the name of the machine?
It's called a K8. So I made a because everybody wants to know how to get a hold of it. So I'd send them to Danusha's email, but people can't spell Danusha. So we get all these emails. How do you spell Danusha? It's danusha@gmail.com. But anyway, it's Polish for like Dawn or something. So I made a landing site for her. You can book a free consult with her like I did. It's what's the name of that site? It's mypurifiedwater.com. Go to mypurifiedwater.com and you can get your water right with Danusha. So anyway, so the water is like, I just think it's like such an important thing for people to do, because it helps to get it gets the toxins and the lymphatic system and everything moving. It's just really important.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of your products, because you've got an amazing website. You're helping people all over the planet, and you've been very particular about the kinds of products you're using. So let's talk about some of the ones you're using for detox and evacuation. And just want to bring attention to your shirt. It says "Love when you poop," right?
Yeah, I love when you poop.
Yeah.
So because it's for me, dude. Because like when I pooped, I used to bleed rectally.
Right. Yeah.
For 2.5 years. So imagine my elbows are bleeding, my knees bleeding, and then when I poop, I bleed. And when I poop, it was like a 6 to a 7 on the pain scale.
Jeez.
So it wasn't fun, followed by blood. And then I'd look at it and I'd be like, well, I hope that goes away. And I just go about my life. Head in the sand, wouldn't change. Doctors want me to go on those weird drugs. I just didn't want to do it. It's probably glad I didn't. I'm really glad I didn't now. Because who knows what the side effects of that would have been. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't even know what that half this. I couldn't even pronounce what they were giving me. So so what happened is like I became a health coach. I got out of the financial services industry after my little brother got killed in a mountain biking accident. I just decided that I want to do what I like. And I like telling people about sprouts and how to heal and how to get back to nature and that kind of stuff. And I had no idea what I was going to do. But I just started coaching people for free, living off my savings. And eventually one day I used to be into protein powders. I'm not now. You can ask me why later if you want to. And I had a really good, at the time, plant-based protein powder. And then I looked and the ingredients had changed. And it said xanthan gum on it. I'm like, what the hell is this? So I typed it in, like, mutated corn syrup fermented in bacteria. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, what the hell's that for? And it's an emulsifier. So when you shake the drink, it won't settle, because heaven forbid you have to shake the drink twice or three times while you're drinking it, right? Because we're lazy. They want to sell you stuff. They want convenience and ease of use, quick. And, nature doesn't work that way. So I had to call up all my clients and tell them, send it back, get your money back. Let me do my research and I'll find another one. This kept happening over and over again. And finally, this little old lady that was buying wheatgrass from us, because we were growing wheatgrass, sunflower, pea sprouts, and buckwheat lettuce in my garage. And I was delivering it to 40, 50 cancer patients a week, or people that had serious health issues. This gal had kidney issues. She's in her 70s. I believe her name was Karen. And she said, hey, I went to Dr. Bailey's office and my wheatgrass wasn't there, because we had drop spots all over at chiropractors and naturopaths' offices in town. And just because it made it easier for us to deliver. And I was like, oh, Karen. I was like, oh, and I was thinking, I'm going to have to go handle this myself, because I got to help her, because I know her story. She's been to one of our dinner classes. And I'm like, I didn't want to go into traffic. It was like a 3-4 hour drive back and forth in traffic. So I'm just like, I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to package you up this green powder and I'm going to send it to you for free. Well, you've already paid for them. We'll just call it good, because it's probably twice as much, but it's half its price, whatever. And she's like, well, you said fresh is best. I said, I know. Now, half of this was because I was lazy, but the other half was because, she needed something. And I didn't have any wheatgrass for her. It was going to take 8 days to grow it anyway. So I'm like, this is the second best thing I could do. So I ship it over to her, and it shows up in a couple days. And then a week later, she calls me and she says, hey, Tim. I was like, yeah. She goes, I'm really happy with this. She goes, I have just as much energy from this as I did from the wheatgrass, and I don't have to clean that damn juicer, which she was very happy about, because she didn't have a lot of shoulder strength with her, at her age. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And here I am trying to figure out how I'm going to make a living. I completely discounting it. And then 2 weeks later, she calls me and she goes, hey, I need some more of this. And I was like, well, I said, this formulator, he told me he's not taking on any more clients. He only did it because his best friend forced him to take me on. But I'll ask. And he said, nope, I can't do it. He goes, I'm working, 11, 15 hours a day. I'm in my 70s. Sorry. So I was like, well, why don't you just send me a whole bunch of it and I'll package it up for her. And then I packaged it up for her. And then she just kept ordering it from me. And then finally a light bulb finally went on. I'm like, oh my God, this could be part of my business. Like, I could help her, and I could actually help other people, because I can't ship sunflower sprouts from here to Florida, but I can ship the green powder. So originally I took it and I put it in Ziploc bags, and I put green stuff, even though that's not what I wrote. I put green SHIT, and I sent it to 6 of my friends. I said, when you guys try this and tell me what you think. And 4 of them got back to me in a week and said, dude, this stuff tastes like pond scum, but man, do I feel good. So I was like, okay, I think I got something here. So then I hired another formulator, and I was selling it, bagging it myself out of the garage for a year and a half or 2. And then I got a formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway. He's got a lab, FDA approved lab, GMP facility, all that stuff. And him and I hit it off. He's become my mentor. What I like about Scott is he's in his 70s, but his skin looks like he's 35. He meditates. He's got a very good spiritual practice. He takes very good care of his body. He drinks the greens. And after we made it, he's like, I have to, this formula is so good. He goes, I take it myself. And so we have somebody on staff that's a master herbalist in Indian herbology, Chinese herbology, and Western herbology. So the only herbology he hasn't mastered is the Australian one, because the indigenous people won't tell anybody, because they're trying to keep the pharmaceutical companies out from raping their land. So anyway, our products are sun-dried or air-dried under 110 degrees, and we don't use any slave labor. And we test with Kirlian photography after manufacturing to make sure the life force, that biophoton energy, is still there. The electrons are intact as much as possible. They're highly concentrated and super absorbable. There is no toxic other ingredients in our products as well. So that's very important, because other ingredients are still ingredients. So when you look on our labels, like my greens here, if you look, it'll say no magnesium stearate, no silicon dioxide, no dicalcium phosphate, big red letters. And the reason why we do that is because these are called excipients, binders, fillers, and flow agents that a lot of companies are putting in there, knowingly or unknowingly, that are harming your health. Magnesium stearate can come from diseased cow bones and hides. It can those cows could have been fed genetically modified corn or soy. The silicon dioxide is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list, yet it's in most supplements. Check your labels, please. Wow. And when we do supplement reviews, man, we find 95% of the stuff in the cupboard's got all this stuff in it. And they're selling a lot of synthetics too. So anyway, we just wanted to do it right. And I built this stuff for my body. So I'm fanatical about it. So at least now I know what I can trust. There are some other companies. I've already helped over a dozen other companies clean up their labels and their ingredients, which is a good feeling. My goal is to transform the entire industry and get them to, stop putting synthetic garbage in these products. And it's hard to find. We're literally like a needle in a haystack, but hopefully through time, we'll be able to help other people and other companies make these changes so people can get what they're looking for, which is they want to boost their immune system, right? But sure. Anyway, you asked our detox products. We have a gut detox and a toxin detox. The gut detox is for those people that are not going to get a colon hydrotherapy session. I know there's some of you out there that's not going to do it. In 15 days, you can take 3 in the morning and 3 at night. It'll remove that 6 to 12 pounds of unwanted waste material in the gut very gently. There is no diarrhea, which is very important for people who are working. You don't get that Hertz reaction, that deal. And then our toxin detox is a powerful formula. It was actually 2 formulas developed for the military to remove the heavy metals, radiation, and pollution out of the blood, fat, and muscle tissue. And that's a really powerful formula. Those are our 2 major detox formulas. Then we've got, greens and probiotics and enzymes. And we have a liquid turmeric that a lot of doctors and nurse practitioners and stuff are offering to people for anti-inflammatory, because we have a very specialized proprietary process it's actually 185 times more absorbable and anti-inflammatory. It's pretty remarkable. We have a whole line of products that will be coming out with these tinctures that are super highly absorbable. So anyway, if people want to, check them out, they're there at the website, and we get that discount code for them. I don't know. Are we wrapping up here, or are we about done?
In a little bit. Yeah. I just, something I think that people really need to hear is that the way that you're coming at this is really heart focused. It's really about the quality of the ingredients. I love how you shared the story of how this all kind of happened with regards to, you didn't realize you were creating a company, and you did. And that's what I love about your story, because you didn't jump into this like, hey, I can make a buck. I can, even if there's some authenticity to people, wanting to get people healthy, but you really you did it from your heart. And that's what I love, how you're sharing this. And you did it, with the integrity of wanting good, clean products. You're wanting to clean up the health industry, because this is the reality, people. I mean, there's so much garbage out there that we're buying, from these big blockchain stores that we go to on a very regular basis. We're just getting things because it's on the label. We're not looking at the additives, the excipients, all those things that you're sharing. This is really, really important stuff. And so I love that you shared that. That's huge. And yeah, for anyone who is listening in and you want to access the products, tell them where to go, and then we've got a discount code for people that are wanting to get access to stuff. So
sure, man. So if you guys want to connect, best place, just go to our main website at chemicalfreebody.com. Chemicalfreebody.com. You start searching around, and there are a little pop up, and then we're going to give you a free gift. And I want to send you. It's called my Core 4 Secrets. It's 4 foundational things. 3 of them cost nothing that you can implement today instantly after you download it, that will radically change your health. These are, I have people pay me $3,000 a month to coach them privately. And this is the first 4 things that we get in place. Right? These are basic, simple things that over 95% of the population is not doing on a consistent basis, that will radically change your health. Remember, it doesn't have to be complicated for it to work. Nature's really easy. Okay. It's real simple. So that's what we share people to get these habits back. If you want to check out the products, go to the products tab, because we have a lot of them. Scroll down to the savings bundles. That way you can get a discount, and you can try a little jumpstart bundle, or you can do what I do. I do the total energy and detox bundle, and I also take that turmeric product, or pick a bundle in the middle that resonates with you or in your budget. And then at checkout, type in the code IGNITED, and you get another 5% off. That's how you get a double discount. And we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products, because we're so confident they'll work. And if they don't, just call us up. We'll happily refund your money. And we'd love to get on the phone with you if they don't work. We're coaches over here first. We're primarily a coaching company. We want to help you get to the root of your problem. And if one of our products doesn't work for whatever reason, because some people have allergies to certain things or whatever, we will find another company, or we will find another therapy or something that we might know something else that, and we could share it with you, that you can go, because we want you to solve that problem and get to a point where you can just wake up and feel good, like I do every day now. I get to wake up at 48 years old and feel good. And 11 years ago, I woke up and felt like crap. So if you don't want to feel like crap anymore, I can probably help you get to the feeling good thing. We've helped a lot of people. We used to get people, Nick, that are like, I've tried everything. And I'm like, well, have you tried detoxing, or what's that? Well, okay. Well, yeah, if you've tried everything, you would be well. That's just the way it works. You haven't tried everything yet. So the only way you're going to fail is if you quit. Just got to get up one more time, keep trying, and eventually you're going to get that. You're going to get well. You just have to believe in that.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we've come to realize too, just being in practice for as long as we have, is it's that it's not just about the nutrition. It's not just about the exercise. It's not just about the mindset. You literally have to detox your internal environment. You have to change the way your cells interface with the external world. And the only way that it's going to do that very effectively is if you start cleaning out the garbage and the chemicals and heavy metals and pesticides, all the stuff that we brought up today.
It's simple stuff, dude. It's like get rid of your Glade air fresheners that are poisoning your air.
Totally.
And get an essential oil diffuser.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. Rotate some essential oils, at least 4. Always rotate at least 4, so you're not building up any
That's great advice. Yeah. I got 2 more concepts that I just wanted to highlight, maybe quickly pick your brain.
Sure.
We're obviously going to have more podcasts together anyways, but you brought up the colonics. Is there any home, like, would you recommend the enemas? Like, is there some home stuff that you think people can do before they say jump into doing some colonic sessions, or
sure,
what do you recommend there?
The first thing is they can take our gut detox product and drink a lot of water, right?
Yeah.
95% of people are not drinking enough water. And that's why the colon is impacted, because your brain needs water. Your bones are 22% water. Your blood needs water. Your lymphatic system needs water. And if your cells or some other part of your body needs water, guess where the first place it goes? It's the colon. So if you're 95% of you listening, you're not drinking enough water, your colon's going to be dried out. And that's the beginning of it getting impacted, because it's supposed to be a waste removal system, not a storage tank. And when you're low on water all the time, you end up impacting that colon. And on top of that, you got the cooked, the processed foods, all this stuff, right? So it's really important to get that cleaned out. So the gut detox works. Drink a lot of water. Number 2, you can do an enema. You can learn how to do enemas at home. Get a silicone or a metal container, and it's gravity fed, and you insert it. I would recommend not using the petroleum jellies. Those are from, but using like coconut oil would be a better lube to get it in there. And then, but people that haven't done that before, they don't know where to start. It's weird. You have to watch some videos and get educated. I'm going to eventually just have to shoot some darn videos, and maybe just, wear a kilt or something from
That's
Scotland.
A great idea.
Just show how people how to demonstrate. But they showed us Hippocrates, that part of that 3.5-hour class, internal awareness, was showing us how to do enemas, because every room in that 50-acre complex had hooks on the walls all over the place, because everybody's doing enemas. And not only that, we were implanting wheatgrass juice after the enema. We were implanting 4 to 6 ounces of wheatgrass juice rectally. Fantastic detox. Within 2 seconds, that wheatgrass goes up the hepatic vein. It's detoxing your liver, feeding the colon, nourishing the colon. And what's the byproduct of plants? Oxygen. So we were literally supplying oxygen into the colon, and oxygen is the exact opposite of what viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, parasites, mutagens, these cancers want. So powerful stuff. And then you can do colonics or colon hydrotherapy. So, and then I guess in between colonics and enemas is what's called a Colima board. It's, you can look that up. Colima, I think it's COLEMA, Colima board. It's kind of like a little bit more powerful enema bag type deal. It's kind of in between that and the colonic. The colonic would be the most powerful, yet it's still gentle. Also, if you're thinking about getting colonics, there's 2 types of systems. There's an open system and a closed system. A closed system is 2 tubes, a tube inside of a tube, and there'll be a technician there inserting the tube for you and massaging your belly. And I think that's probably a really good thing to do your first time. Do a closed system, a couple of them back to back, and then after that, go to an open system if you're strong enough. Now, somebody that's an elderly person or they've had severe gut issues, they are weaker. A closed system is what you want. The open system's a little more strong. That would be for somebody that's more fit.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I like that people have different entry points where they can get started. This may be too big of a question, but maybe just some Cole's notes on you focusing more on plant-based diet versus carnivorous one, or what are some quick staples that you, or maybe some points, Cole's notes points that you want to make?
Well, let's just give the big overview. I mean, 60% of the planet eats a plant-based diet. So the people that are eating meat are in the minority. Now, I'm not bashing that. I mean, because here's what happened. I went plant-based vegan fanatic for 8.5 years. And then I kind of came out and I thought, well, I started using my common sense again. I thought, well, maybe, people, the indigenous people, because we looked at I saw a doctor, or not a doctor, but a professor at an institute or at a college where he had a bunch, and they got this super microscope and they were doing all these tooth samples from archaeology, tooth samples of people and all this stuff. And they noticed that we ate mostly plants, but we would eat some animal from time to time. Now, I know from being a hunter, you take away the guns and the bows, you go outside and you try to catch animals. It ain't that easy. Like you might find some fish when they're spawning or whatever. It just kind of depends, but you're just not gonna do it. So I thought, well, maybe I'll add a little bit of that back in. So I did that for about a year and a half. And then I just finally decided that what works for me is like, I'm pretty much like plant-based, but if, we pick some morel mushrooms in the spring, or in the fall, we pick chanterelles, I might have an omelet made with them. And I'm just I don't freak out about it anymore. Or if you went and caught some halibut, I might, and it's fresh and you smoked it and you handle it yourself, maybe I'll have a piece of it. I'm very particular about the meat that I would put in. It's very rare now. And some people just emotionally aren't ready to give up meat. What I don't like, which actually I really don't care, but is that somebody's eating meat, they switch over to plant-based or vegan, and then 2 weeks later they're yelling at somebody else because they're eating meat. It's like, it's silly. It's like, dude, 2 weeks ago you were having a hamburger.
Right.
Like, they're on their journey, you're on your journey. Just be the example. Improve your health. Be a shining example. Let your skin start glowing. Get your abs back. Feel better about yourself. Work on your spiritual path. And that's what happened for me. As I cleaned up my diet and I started doing living foods, it totally opened up my spiritual path. And I started looking around, what the hell is this? And finally in 2018, I really just ran into the right mentors. And then boom, now my spiritual, I'm like reading books. Look at this. I'm reading this. I just finished reading this book right now. Perfect Love, Imperfect Relationships.
Very cool.
John Wellwood, really good one. Yeah. I've really got into Krishnamurti and Osho and all these different people. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out, and it's like, it's really cool. And it's like, wow, now I get all the religions now, and I understand. I'm seeing the bigger picture, and like, I'm so connected to nature, and like, I am nature. And it's like, it's just so cool. And I'm not afraid of dying anymore. And I've made peace with my brother's death. And I understand that he came here and did exactly what he wanted to do. And then he bounced, and he created a lot of contrast for me. His death propelled me to not be scared and to just jump in full steam ahead into the health industry. Wow. And if he wouldn't have died, I don't know how long it would have taken me to get in, if I ever would have. But that death propelled me at that time to do what I'm doing now. We've helped, I've personally coached 600 people through this process, and there's thousands of people around the world now that are taking our products and following our advice. We have a group coaching community. It's growing, and people are really enjoying that. So
that's amazing, man. I love your story. I love your passion for what you're doing. I love this quality of it. This is a sort of a tagline from David Wolf when we had a chance to interview him. He said, I don't care if you're a meat eater or vegetarian, just be qualitarian focused and really embracing the best of what you can put in your body and honoring that process along the way. Man, you've shared such incredible information today. I love your energy. I love your spirit. And I love the awakening in your spiritual body as a result of you cleaning out all the crap that we get exposed to. And that's like, you created space for more of you to show up in this world, and you're doing it in a really powerful way. One last question I'd love to ask a lot of our guests, and you sort of answered a bit of it, but I'd love for you to maybe expand on a little bit more, is that, if today was your last day on this planet, you've lived the life that you have, you've learned the lessons that you've learned, and now you want to leave this impact for those that are here still to carry on that message. What is that message you'd like to share with the population to really to send your blessings off?
Well, I would say put yourself first. That's it. Number one, And it's really important because I see, especially with mothers, they put themselves last. They take care of their husband, they take care of the kids, they're taking care of aging parents today. And guys are doing this too. And they're not taking care of their health. And then eventually the toxins build up, the stress builds up, the lack of nutrition is there. They're not drinking enough water, and a wheel falls off, and they can't take care of anybody. They're in the hospital, they get this diagnosis, and then they go into freak show mode, and then they end up, going in and, cut, burn approach model, cut, nuke, or burn, right? So, and it's just not working that well for people. So moms and dads, listen up. I'm one of them. I got two boys. They're 21 and 19. And what I've learned is like, if years ago, if you would have asked me and said, hey, Tim, who's more important, you or your kids? I would have said, my kids are more important. That's kind of the knee jerk reaction, but they are. I mean, I'll take a bullet for my kids. I would then, and I will now. But if somebody asks me that question now, who's more important, you or your kids? I'm like, me. And I believe it. It vibrates with every cell in my body. I am number one. Why? Because I want to lead by example. I want my children to put themselves first. And the only way I feel the best way to do that is to do it myself. Monkey see, monkey do. Baby bear does not learn how to find fish in the fall. Mama bear shows him. She shows him where the berries are. She shows him how to eat the grass. She shows him how to scrape the log and turn it over and eat the grubs. She shows him where everything's. And when there's a big daddy bear over there that's not his daddy or whatever, they're like, get the heck out of there. She's showing him the ropes by example, right? Now, sometimes mama bear will get pissed and scare off the big daddy bear, right? But like, you have to put yourself first. That's it. You have to do that. And by doing that, you are giving a gift to your children and everybody else that comes into contact with you, because you give them permission to do the same thing for themselves. Not that they will, but you're giving them permission to do it. And more often than not, you'll help other people change themselves by simply you changing yourself. That's why our motto over here is change yourself, change your world. When you change yourself and your beliefs, you actually change your world. And I've actually seen this happen. Like, I'll give a quick example. I broke up with my kid's mom, and we just like no spiritual practice back then, nothing. We hated each other. I was like, I can't wait till the kids are 18 and I have to pay her, and I'll never talk to her again. That was my mentality. Well, that's silly. Like the two boys both love mom and dad. And when they see mom and dad fighting, it's ripping them apart emotionally, scarring them for life. So I finally decided, you know what? And it wasn't a hard thing, but it was just like, I'm just going to start loving her. That's what I'm going to do through my spiritual practice. I'm going to go over there and love her no matter what. And she was still mad and horny at me. And I went over there one night and I was hanging out with the kids, and she came home and she was just exhausted, and her neck was hurting her or something. So I was like, well, here, let me show you. And I was massaging her neck a little bit. And I haven't, even touched her in like years. She's like, oh my God, it hurts so much. And then she's like, thank you. And she went and laid down. She said, I have to go lay down. So I had my little kit with me, and I had my essential oils, and I had my stuff. I'm like, little Dr. Tim. And I went over there and I said, hey, yeah. So I like totally gave her a massage and thick, and I put some essential oils on there, and it was really nice to her. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then she came over again, like 2 weeks later, and I did the same thing and then rubbed her feet and stuff like that. And then one day, like a month later, my neck was kind of hurting, and she was like massaging my neck. I completely rehabilitated that relationship. We got together as a family unit for the first time, and the kids voiced their opinions and everybody was crying. We healed that relationship, but it took me stepping up and just putting my ego completely off to the side. And guess what? We get along great now. We get along totally good. And I know that by me doing that, I helped to heal my son's heart. So that was really, it's really important to do that kind of stuff, because the reality is we're here for such a short time in this time space reality, this experience. It's too short to have hate in your heart and that kind of stuff. So it's better just to let it all go, drop the ego, start loving everybody. And if they don't love you back, it's okay, because how you know your reality has changed is when you change the way you look at things and your beliefs, and the same things happen exactly how they did before, but you respond to them differently. That's when you know your reality has changed. So somebody might be doing something intentionally or not to you, but how you respond to it is how you know your reality has changed. So in the past, you might have gotten upset, raised your blood pressure. Now you just feel compassion for them and understand that they must be doing that for whatever reasons. They're doing the best they can. They probably had a hard childhood. Their dad probably slapped them around. Maybe their mom was a drug addict. Who knows what was going on in people's lives? Give them some grace. And by doing that, you won't raise your blood pressure. I mean, if you want to look at it from a selfish level, just love everybody so you be healthier and be happier. It's just, if you want to take it from that point of view, however it takes to get there, it works. I'm telling you.
That's an amazing message. I love that you shared that. And every time we ask that question, it's always a little different, but the message to really put yourself first, to take care of yourself, to change yourself, to change your world. I mean, powerful messages. We're in the world that we're in right now. We're being told the exact opposite. Protect everybody else. How dare you be selfish, right? I mean, our understanding of selfishness and putting oneself first, really by taking care of yourself, you're making the planet healthier. And yet we're being told the current narrative that if you don't do something, you're going to now put everyone at risk. So I love that you're sending this message of, self-care, personal responsibility. It starts with our individual, what we can control, and it starts to reverberate into the world around us. So beautiful, beautiful message for everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, Tim. And just lastly, just reminding people, chemicalfreebody.com. You can use the promo code Ignited. Make sure you check out the bundles, as he said. He also does coaching. Anything else you want to drop for people before we sign off today?
When's this going to air?
I think probably about a week from now. So
happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy
Merry
Christmas,
right.
and all that jazz. Yeah, put a smile on your face, everybody. It's like, God, if you're alive, you got 10 toes and 10 fingers, or even if you don't, if you're alive, it's there's a lot of people that aren't. So just make the best of it.
Love it. Take care.